Beto O'Rourke supporters were filmed beating a piñata that resembled President Trump during a recent rally in El Paso. Beto condemned the behavior, mostly because he's sensitive to that sort of behavior ever since he was beaten like a piñata by Ted Cruz in November.
Aw, Beto.
Oh, too soon. Can't be Count Chocula.
YouTube announced it is no longer promoting conspiracy theory videos. You know, I can't be sure, but I have a feeling the lizard people are behind this.
This is Alex Jones. I agree with you. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg returned to the bench yesterday, so the other justices had to go back to putting their names on food in the break room.
The Trump administration is trying to end the worldwide criminalization of homosexuality. Homosexuality cannot be prosecuted as long as perpetrators enroll in Mike Pence's Camp Gayaway.
I went there one summer. Democratic Senator of Minnesota, Amy Klobuchar, announced her presidential bid in blizzard-like conditions earlier this month. Apparently, she's such a pain to work for, even the sun doesn't want to be part of her presidential campaign.
A sealed test cartridge of Super Mario Brothers sold at auction for $100,000. The buyers can't wait to get the cartridge home and blow on it until it works.
It's my favorite joke of all time. And finally, the Democratic presidential race has gotten a little more crowded, with Bernie Sanders announcing that he's running for president, announcing that he's walking for president, that he's strolling for that he had some young, vibrant, and healthy person who works for him file paperwork that allows him to be a presidential candidate. And the Trump Report starts now.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Yes, indeed. Welcome to the Trump Report. I'm Christian Blatt, joined as always by Tamara Brown.
Hey there.
And Scott Moore when he's not playing Carmen Sandiego.
Right.
When he's actually around. That's an old reference now.
Yes,
isn't
it is.
Yeah, but you know, who's watching this show? Kids?
No.
Maybe. Welcome if you are.
Right. At least I got the reference though.
Yeah, well, that's really what it was for. And of all the shows for our friend Chelsea to not be here, we're not going to talk about Bernie right now. But Bernie running for president, and I had like several legitimate legal questions for her. So Scott and Tamara, hopefully you guys have watched a lot of Judge Judy lately, because I'll just ask you guys and see what you think. Well, let's start with the big story since the last time we were on, and kind of the story that's looming over all of our heads. President Trump has declared a national emergency, and as such approved giving himself some money to build a border wall, which according to the New York Times, according to the failing New York Times, will provoke a constitutional clash, which is a lot less exciting than Clash of the Titans, but also kind of interesting to read about. Scott, I'll start with you about the declaration, and I'm going to just assume you're better read about this than I am. So what do people who are smarter than me think about this? And I'll probably agree with them.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, this is where we need Schoolhouse Rock, another old reference.
Yeah.
But, you know,
well,
talk
I am
about
just
the
a bill
clash
on
of the
Capitol Hill,
Constitution. We could all learn about what a national emergency actually is, and what it entails, and where that dividing line is between the president and Congress. And no, more or less, I mean, this is for him to go after his base again. Let's just call it what it is, because we've already started to see him shift on his policy of, oh no, let's not build the wall, let's finish the wall. Like now he's already talking like, oh, they've already been building the wall, and it's really to go after for his base to say, look, I've tried every single possible option that I can do for you to build this wall as I promised. Everyone else, you know, it's everyone else's fault as to why it didn't get done, or maybe in this case now I was going to say it was built and done in 2020, and you know, he'll have some stock footage of some beautiful wall. But the issue is the fact that you know, what it goes down to is Congress had not funded this wall, and he's turned around and declaring a national emergency, and it's a very loose term with the national emergency. When they first did this act, I believe it was back in 1970s when they revised it, and in the 1980s, of what constitutes a national emergency. And on one hand, you could say it's very vague for a president to be able to do it as he sees fit. But on the other hand, when you see, you know, the things that he's already commented on and obviously what he said in the press conference, and then saying that he didn't have to do this, and saying that if it was a true national emergency and Congress decided not to fund it, and they're the ones that hold the purse strings, it just proves that in the big picture it's not. But what he's hoping is that it'll go through the courts, and then eventually it'll get to the Supreme Court, and, he's hoping for a 5-4 win that he'd be able to do it. But regardless, it goes back to what I've said since 2016, the wall will never, ever, ever happen, because we still see there's stuff going on from the early to mid-2000s in litigation, especially in Texas, where they want to do the wall with landowners. So even if you were to get the approval from the Supreme Court, and then you were to do construction and you were to continue to get money for it, it's going to be held up in court through individual litigation issues for years and years to come with individual landowners. So,
Tamara, if President Trump seems to think he has a really sure footing through the courts, if he's so sure that he can do this, do you think that he needed to really include in that statement? And look, I know this is going to go through the courts. Believe me, I'm going to win. Not the Ninth Circuit, but definitely so he knows it's going to go to the Supreme Court. So he knows in just announcing it that oh yeah, I really can't do this. But it's going to go all the way up to the Supreme Court. And thanks to Kavanaugh, and it's less about him than the fact that he's the most recent appointee.
Well, he's the one that would tip the...
Yeah.
Right.
The wall will be approved once it gets up to that level, but it will be a wall made of beer cans.
Well, he does like beer. Yeah, that's true. I think Sully will actually be there for the ribbon cutting on the beer can wall.
I had an idea. I don't know why Trump doesn't. I feel like the administration is the smartest tactic for them to take. Would just be like, we did it.
Right,
we built the wall.
Exactly.
It's there, and
it's beautiful.
And like you can even like release those conservative groups that are so meme heavy of just like just completely fabricated, the Pizzagate kind of organizations with the memes. Just release these photos of like the Hoover Dam or the Vietnamese or
the Great Wall.
The
Great Wall.
The Vietnam Veterans Wall in DC.
But also, as
and
I
be
said,
like, see what we put look at our beautiful border wall, and we even put veterans' names on it, and just
that's pretty great.
Put
actually.
these, but just
because if you say
because they're not gonna fact check it.
If you say that it's built, it doesn't matter if Jim Acosta goes down to the border, and he's the one who would go to show you, like, look, it's not here. Just be like, well, no, that's fake news.
They won't believe it.
He went somewhere else. He went across the street from the wall.
Why are we even splitting hairs over what to lie about now? Just say you built the wall. Just throw out some photos of walls. Your base will be happy.
Exactly.
You'll be happy.
And you'll be done. Like I said, they've already started by saying they're building the wall now. So he's saying, oh, let's finish the wall.
We're going to finish the wall.
He's already starting to turn it in that direction, but...
Yeah, and amongst the lawsuits so far is there are 16 states that are saying that that diverting these federal funds will actually hurt their states. Some of them are border states. I don't know if 16 states border Mexico. I'm getting not that smart, but I think they don't. But people are joining in. Now, you're not going to get all 50 states, but or as... at last I counted, I think there's 50. You never know, but I think that this is where I would have asked Chelsea about this, and I probably wouldn't have understood the answer, and I just would have gone, oh, great. Not because she's again, who isn't smarter than me? That's the big takeaway here. But I don't know. I mean, Scott, as you hear sort of these states, the case they're making, do you think that they have a decent legal footing? And again, you're not Judge Judy, but
well, I think they do. Of course, it comes down to the 16 states either have a Democratic governor, a Democratic attorney general, or both. So when you do,
a state like Virginia,
yes,
that has a Democratic governor and a Democratic,
and actually
attorney
Virginia
general.
is one of them, and Maryland, surprisingly, even though they have a Republican governor, has a Democratic AG. But every other state that's involved, Michigan, Minnesota, Nevada, the only two border states are California and New Mexico. And
Oh,
California.
really? Arizona didn't get in on
And
this?
Arizona did not.
Oh.
Or Texas,
You really
of
would
course.
have
Surprising.
expected.
Yes.
Well, no, Texas, I wouldn't have been shocked only
Yeah.
because it depends on how much money those landowners have on the border.
Yeah, which
And-
Texas does have.
Yeah,
a lot
and
of
how many,
private landowners.
how much they can buy some of their elected officials, be like, this is really important to us.
Mm-hmm.
And we know if it's important to us, it's important to your reelection campaign.
Right.
I mean, what? Important to you. Tamara, the point that some of these cases are making is they're using his own words against him.
Yep.
He says, I didn't need to do this. I didn't need to declare a national emergency. Okay, then why did you? That seems to make too much sense. So that probably won't hold up in court, right? Because of how logical that is. Like he said he didn't need to do it.
Yeah, I guess not. I mean, isn't everybody referring to it as the fake national emergency? I feel like every pundit is calling it like can't we just call anything a national emergency now?
Yeah.
There's no more. We had a third less of those candy hearts at Valentine's Day that say things on them. That's a national
Like Be Mine.
emergency.
Yeah. And then if you flip it over, it says, I mean, if that's okay with you, I don't want to come on too strong. I realize it's 2019, but be mine if you want.
And if you don't, that's okay.
Yeah, thank you. By the way, thank you for finishing that thought. The key is, I guess, that even some of the tried and true Trump brigade is not entirely or even remotely on board with this, with Ann Coulter being somebody who has drawn the ire of President Trump, which, welcome to the, being in line with the rest of the country. But I think that it's, there's a lot of reasons to not like her, but when she doesn't like somebody, and maybe if you don't like that person too, it's kind of funny. Like in a radio interview on Friday, she said, the only national emergency is that our president is an idiot. Now, if Chris Cuomo says that on CNN, that's not that funny.
Right.
If Stephen Colbert says that, that's still, it's like, okay, it's kind of funny.
The enemy of my enemy.
Right, but then it's like, oh, burn. And she also said, thank God he's relieved me of any responsibility for what he's been doing. Because the point is that for her, the wall was kind of the only thing that mattered.
Right.
And, I think that it was just like, whatever, just build the wall. And, look, there are a lot of one-issue people like that who only cared about Supreme Court. Our friend Storage Yard resident is very adamant. He just wants the wall. He thinks that it'll make America safer and possibly great again. I don't know. But I don't think I'm putting words in your mouth or on your hat. With that Storage Yard resident. That's one of our friends in the chat. I shouldn't assume everybody knows. For those who watch live on YouTube,
Name
he's in there.
dropping.
Yeah, he's one of our BFFs. He's been a guest on this show before. That's right.
Yep.
In any case, what do you think it means? And I'm not asking Tamara, what do you think of Ann Coulter? But what do you think it means when Donald Trump loses someone like Ann Coulter, who I think her last book was called In Trump We Trust. E pluribus awesome, I think was the subtitle. I'm almost positive on both of those counts.
Because I think it means that sociopaths implode. Like when you build your ring of people that surround you by people who it's all about favors and it's all about, there's no like legitimate loyalty built on in actual, like human integrity. So of course it all like it starts to implode and crumble. And that's why his administration has had, firing, resigns more than any other one. Like this, it's just chaos. It's like a middle school locker room, this administration, as far as who's friends with who at what time and who's not talking to who when. And this is just an example of, Trump and Coulter are two rival cheerleaders that are just mad at each other right now.
I know enough about her, and I'm going to bet that this is the positioning for next year's book. I have no idea what the title is, but I'm pretty sure that where she's at right now is she's just focused on that because it's always about moving product.
Right.
I mean, she's. I think that people would find this hard to believe, but she's very smart when it comes to selling herself. Like the timing
Sure.
of her huge, like these aren't her hugely
I don't think
outrageous
anybody would
comments.
deny that.
Yeah, she's well. Me saying she's very smart, I think would get people to go, well, no, she's very smart about that. And look, she has a lot of information inside of her head. She just processes it differently than some of you might. I don't have as big a head. Well, wait, that was an insult. I actually didn't mean that. Oh well, too late now. Oh, you know how Ann watches the show too. Sorry. Anyway, let us know what you think in the chat. I feel like, I'm not sure, but I feel like this story's not going to go away. I think we might end up talking about this over the course of the next couple weeks.
I would say the next couple months, really, when you think about, I mean, it's going to get more on the back burner, but as it progresses, and I would add that I think Ann Coulter's incredibly smart, and she's like Trump in the same way that she's always trying to get that next news cycle hit, and that she does everything to some degree for attention, of course. And so that's why her and Trump have always sort of been simpatico because of that.
Yeah.
And like you said, I think she's now, setting the tone for whatever her next book deal, whatever that's going to be leading up to the election now. And it's a good strategy for her because, she says these things to get the most attention
I mean,
that she possibly can.
I think what started all of this is that she said that this national emergency is only being done to placate the idiots who are Donald Trump's base, and that's what she said. That is not what I'm saying.
No, and that's exactly what she said.
So what does this cost her? Like, have any people who love her turned against her in any way? Like,
No,
that would
she's
be my
getting to do
question.
more interviews.
Yeah, so
exactly,
yeah.
it's a win-win.
I mean,
Because even
and
people who love
in a
Trump-
way, it's a win for the, I guess, Democrats too, and just in that, like, if we can slowly chip away at his base to, you can be conservative Republican, but you don't have to support this man-child
who has very large hands, despite what everyone says. So he's very excited about the lawsuit, and you know what? So are we. We'll get to look towards that. Moving towards another former friend of the president, Michael Cohen. What I love, I'm going to read this whole headline because it's definitely like, burying the lead about reminding you who the person is. It says, Trump speaks in bigoted words in private and has no moral character in defrauding people. His former fixer, Michael Cohen, will tell Congress before going to prison. So, kind of like, hey, this guy's got obviously a bad guy too, but he would know. I don't know. Which one do you think, Tamara, if only one could be true? Speaking in bigoted words in private, or having no moral character and defrauding people? Just in a hypothetical world where only one of those things could exist.
Definitely the second one, because I do find it hard to believe. I mean, as much as it would make sense that he speaks in bigoted terms behind closed doors, I don't think he's smart enough to not accidentally ever say something in public.
Yeah.
So I would say if one was less true, it would be the bigoted terms one.
Yeah, I would think that he's certainly learned that every mic is a hot mic, and he's often being recorded, sometimes by Omarosa. So I think that if maybe that was true at some point in his life, I think he does. I think he doesn't. I don't think he does now. I can't imagine. And it's always hard to imagine things, but
or especially after the Inside Edition, the bus when the grab
Access
them,
Hollywood.
the Access Hollywood tapes came out. Like, his people probably swept every single interview that he had done for the past 20 years to just make sure that there wasn't any sort of other thing like that in existence.
Yeah, and I mean, if you believe Tom Arnold, and who doesn't, he thinks that Mark Burnett has hours and hours of outtakes from The Apprentice, and I believe Tom Arnold has specifically said that he knows that he used the N-word in some of these outtakes.
But again, if he did, his base doesn't care. They're fine with that.
Are you going out on a limb and saying that President Trump's base could use racial slurs? Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm saying that they would excuse him saying that just as, it was a long time ago he said
times
that,
are different.
or he did. Yeah, like there'll be a million reasons why it was fine that he used the N-word. Should something like that, we're very being very speculative right now.
Or saying they don't agree with what he said, but
No, we don't agree
we
with
don't
what he
agree
said,
with
but
him, but
I'm
he's,
pretty
you
sure-
know, ultimately...
I'm pretty sure he was listening to Tupac at the time, and he was just singing along. He didn't know any better. Sorry, Tupac. I don't know why I dragged you into that. You know, Scott, it wasn't that long ago that Donald Trump said that... was he the one who said that I could walk down Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody? Yeah, so I just want to make sure that was him. Started to think that, like, oh, no, he could definitely walk down Fifth Avenue and shoot someone. Now, do you think if he killed someone, maybe there's a problem? Or if he just kind of grazes them in the shoulder...
I mean,
like
the graze in the shoulder would be better for him, yes.
Yeah.
But if he killed someone, I'm sure he would then say
It's like a Dick Cheney, you shoot your best friend in the face when you're hunting.
Yep.
Yeah.
He'd be like, yep. It would be all,
It was self-defense.
Yeah,
So,
it would be fake news. Out to get him.
Michael Cohen can't speak about the Mueller investigation, but he's allowed to talk about the man that Trump is. Which it seems like a good time to check in on the Mueller investigation. What's going on? Like, where is it? Trump has lawyers that say it's not going to come out because it doesn't say anything, which I do find that hard to believe that, I mean, if for some reason we were never to read, I think that report will be submitted to, someone.
Yeah.
The name might rhyme with Belosi, I'm just guessing that she'll see it at some point. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But I don't know. I mean, I find that to be impossible. I was going to say highly unlikely. That it's going to come out at some point. How long do you think it is, and where is the impeachment clock? It's been stuck at the 11:58 for a while.
It has been.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and again, it goes back to what we've said on the show before. The fact is, none of us have any idea where it is and exactly what they have found in this investigation right now. Everyone can say, oh, we've heard this, or we can see that, or it's almost done. I mean, how many times did Rudy Giuliani say it was going to be done within the month, and that was, a year and a half ago? Nobody really has any idea, and, you can have both sides framing it. One side that's pro-Trump will say they haven't found anything, so that's why they keep looking and looking and looking. Then you get the other side that says they are dealing with so much, they're trying to piece it all together, and it takes a lot of time. And as I've also said on the show, it has to be so airtight because of the fact that it's been called a witch hunt and a hoax for so long that they cannot leave anything unturned, and they have to make sure that it's so buttoned up and airtight before they deliver, this final report on whenever that may be. I do think it's getting closer to at least some kind of conclusion, just by the fact that with Bill Barr in now as Attorney General and Rosenstein staying, he's stepping away. I feel he wouldn't step away at this point if he didn't think that it was at least coming closer to an end, because of the fact that now you'd have two new people there overseeing this investigation that haven't been there from the beginning, and then you don't know maybe what things they might be doing to try to curtail it or diminish its effectiveness. And so I do think for that point, with him leaving in mid-March, supposedly, that it might be getting closer, but none of us really have any idea. And for anyone to say that they do, they have no idea.
No, Tamara, when is it coming out?
Next Thursday.
Really?
Yeah.
So wait, not 2 days from, so a week from,
2 days.
so 9 days
this
from
Thursday, a week after.
Okay.
So February 28th. Okay.
See,
Breaking
I
news.
was wondering if they were going to just release it on St. Patty's Day, have it, people
April
are already
Fool's Day.
celebrating.
That's when they're going to.
Oh, now see, you're onto something.
April
I think
Fool's Day.
well, then if we're doing then Cinco de Mayo, shouldn't it come out then?
That would be really.
Well, and
And you can have margaritas and taco bowls from Trump Tower. Celebrate.
Well, I think whatever day, there'll probably be people on both sides of the aisle drinking. I think just, different kinds of drinking. And hello to everyone in the chat. R. Scott Brown, this is to backtrack for a moment, says, Ann Coulter probably already has a book written entitled How I Got Trump to Build That Wall. You are probably right. That whatever the book is, it's already written. Oh, yeah. And then there's probably all right, I got to change these parts before it comes out. Anyway, let us know what you're thinking about all of those things. I do want to talk about something that I cannot believe that Chelsea is not here for. Bernie Sanders is going to run for president again, and he called President Trump a pathological liar, a fraud, a racist, a sexist. And Trump was like, and I won. Bernie Sanders is 77 years old, There's a reason that Larry David doesn't have to do anything different to do his impression of him on SNL. That he's the same Larry David as he's on Curb Your Enthusiasm. And I know that once I drew the ire of Tamara on the show because I said someone had an annoying voice who was a woman. He has a very annoying voice. He is the man with the annoying voice, I would say. He's always yelling about stuff I don't know. I don't care about. I know it's all important to Chelsea, but. Also, by the way, you were on the text chain earlier from our friend Drexel,
Yes.
who donated money to all the other Democrats running as soon as Bernie announced. So I don't think that's a secret. Well, maybe it was. Whoops. But anyway, I just thought it was really funny.
You didn't say how much it was.
No, I didn't. I didn't say how much it was. I just liked that he did that. I don't know. I think that there was a moment in time where there was a big movement behind Bernie. It's kind of like how, to me, Hillary's moment in time was eclipsed by Obama in 2008 and 2016. As close as it was, and yes, she won the popular vote, that felt like that was really where the moment was. I think for Bernie, and you can certainly, point to the way that the Democratic Party was in the tank for Hillary, and things went against his candidacy. It just doesn't feel like the moment right now. Tamara?
I think we're all getting tired of like another candidate and another candidate and another candidate, and the only people not running for president right now are us three on this panel.
Funny you should mention that because I'll have an announcement in the snow next Sunday.
Yep.
Has there ever been a single-term president whose the new president was of the same party?
Yes.
Wait.
You mean like they lost or they weren't asked to run again for real?
Well,
yes, it's happened quite a few times.
Did it happen to like a Whig president? Is it
Yeah,
we're talking like how far ago?
A lot of different presidents in the past, yes.
So because there can be primary challengers and I guess things like that.
Why don't we have a Republican challenger?
Well, that's a possibility.
There's been like a very slight rumbling of that, but
yes.
I think nobody wants to get flattened like that. Like, the Trump machine will just,
Really?
Well, you would think that maybe a conservative of conscience
Yeah.
would feel like, let me speak to the real conservatives who, held their nose and voted for Trump. And
I thought Jeff Flake was supposed to like throw his hat in or something like that.
I mean, William Weld has talked about it, but
he was the one that I was trying to remember. Actually, William Weld. Yeah,
it's not as easy as it used to be. I mean, it used to be too that we didn't vote in the primaries and the party selected their candidate. And so it's happened a lot of times in the past where either the president wasn't very popular and they went with a different candidate.
And Ted Kennedy challenged Jimmy Carter,
and Ronald Reagan
and by the way,
challenged Ford in '76, and
Ted Kennedy murdered a woman, and he still challenged. Sorry, is that's homicide, right? When you leave her to drown in a car. Yeah, but I mean, it's not like we didn't know that story, and he came close to replacing Jimmy Carter as the Democratic candidate.
But I'm not going to go touch that about the drying thing in 1969.
I'm pretty sure that happened, but
yes.
I wasn't there. It's true. I wasn't there.
But it's happened a lot in the past, and then you see that in even in '92, Pat Buchanan was thinking about running against against HW. So,
but I can't think of it recently where it actually nobody ran against Bill Clinton or Obama.
Like if there was a time where that was going to happen, now is the time.
It's just harder when you have a president. It's harder to do that friendly fire and go against someone of your own party, and so it would be something that most people don't do because of the fact it's so divisive, and it's divisive for the party in general, that most people would be like, we're going to bow out and sort of wait our turn kind of thing. That's why you don't see it happen that often, especially today. It's just it would be very hard to get the support for enough people to be able to jump ship and vote for another Republican in that sense.
But back to Bernie for a second. Tamara, how many people do you think will support Bernie just because their Prius still has this sticker on from 2016 and they just figure it'll be easier to, be like, yeah, that's my guy, Bernie exclamation point.
Just because this is a very specific Los Angeles reference, but just because they want to see the inside of that diner at Wilshire and Fairfax, that old vintage diner, Los Angeles landmark that has been turned into a headquarters for Bernie. That's a very real possibility. I've seen friends divided already who's definitely for Bernie, definitely against Bernie. It's just like there's no candidate so far that stands out as a plausible choice.
No, I mean, what he does have, obviously, he has the name recognition. He has people who voted for him in large numbers in the past. Now, were he to win, he would, I believe, be 79 when he's sworn in.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's around the time that we took away my grandfather's car, but that's just the way I remember the world.
But Bernie doesn't have to drive. So.
It's a great point. He doesn't have to drive. You're right. I'll take that back. Sorry, that's very ageist.
It just feels like
anyway, so.
I don't know, whoever lost Best Actress of 2014 saying like, but I'm gonna make a go of it this year.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in a better movie. Don't worry. The Bernie movie that'll come out next year is gonna really be the good Bernie. I don't know. I mean, I'm not surprised that a lifelong politician wants to run for president again. I think he probably thinks it's important. For him, I do think if he were able to channel his movement behind I would say Beto O'Rourke, but I mean somebody that has a chance of winning, like a younger, more vibrant candidate. I could see that. But I don't know. I mean, ultimately, if somebody's going to run for president, what percentage of that decision is based on ego? Like 90%? To think like, well, I can run the free world. I'm the best one to do it, right?
Yeah, I think that it takes that for somebody to actually want to be in the middle of all this craziness. You have to have that ego. But he still has tremendous grassroots support. I mean, look, he's already raised $3 million or something like that just from this morning from over 100,000.
No, that was just from Chelsea, actually. I don't know if you saw that.
Just she wrote a $3
million check. Yeah.
I mean, so that's the thing is he still does
That's
have.
why she's not here right now. She's at the bank, just moving.
Exactly.
She's moving things around.
She's got
to liquidate
that wasn't all liquid.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, exactly. So she's busy next 2 weeks trying to deal with all that for those $3 million. But so he does still have people that are very passionate. I think part of the issues from 2016 were the fact that it was divisive and the fact that he isn't technically a Democrat, even though he's caucused with Democrats for 25, 30 years. That's the biggest problem for a lot of Democrats. And I think if he does move forward in this campaign and it starts to get winnowed down this time next year, the biggest thing is, will he be able to gracefully back out and really aggressively support some other candidate? Because that is the concern, is that you start splintering the Democratic vote and you winnow it down enough, and that's where you allow something like Donald Trump to be reelected, because people were so anti-Hillary after the Bernie-Hillary stuff that they refused to vote for her. And that's where we have to be careful this time around, because you have an insurgent person who's not technically a Democrat trying to run in the party, and then if they don't get that win again, is it going to disappoint a lot of these passionate people that are behind his policies? And will he be able to transfer that energy, like you said, to another candidate that may potentially have a chance to unseat Trump?
Well,
or whoever's running at that point.
Let's jump ahead a year in time. So it'll be February 19th, 2020. Do you, Tamara, think that Bernie will still be running for president 1 year from today?
That is a good question.
Thanks. Marissa suggested it in my ear.
I think Bernie and or Hillary will be picked up as the vice president running mate of whoever the viable candidate is.
Well, same question to you, Scott, and then a fun follow-up.
I'd say yes, just because we'd just be starting with...
We're not even close to Super Tuesday yet.
Yes, we'll just be starting with the first, Iowa, the caucuses. Everything will just have happened, and New Hampshire, and we'll be moving towards, those bigger races.
Super Tuesday will be soon.
Yes.
Right? I know they moved
with California and everything. It'll be like 2 weeks from now.
But
so there's a good chance
maybe 14 months from now, maybe not. But
potentially, yeah. But I mean, at this point, we could have 15, 20 candidates running,
Man, those debates
starting
are going to
to
be
winnow
great.
it down, in January and February. So this would be where the peak amount of people are going to be running. So yeah, I see no reason why he wouldn't be in the mix at this point if he's declared his candidacy today.
And Tamara, how long before Hillary gets in?
She's not getting in.
You don't think she's getting in?
I know that you assume that she is. I don't.
Well, I got nothing to lose by
money
staying on that. But
I'm not putting any
what do
money
you think,
on
Scott?
I mean, that's the concern. And again, it goes back to what what you're both saying. It's just bring up these candidates again, like him, like Sanders, like Biden, and Hillary. It's like we really just need to start looking for new, fresh people, not to be ageist or anything, but there is a chance of like it's time to turn over leadership to a new generation when you have people that are approaching mid-70s, 80 years old. It is getting to the point where it's a difficult job, and as it is, you already have someone who has most of his day taken up for executive time, and then he's already in his early 70s with Donald Trump as the oldest elected person in the office, and it is something where it's time for somebody new. Like Hillary's had her chance. Biden has had his
Hillary's
chance.
had 2 chances.
She's had multiple chances, exactly.
And she lived at the White House, by the way. Let's not forget that. She's already lived there.
For 8 years, yes. And so it's time for some new people. So I'd be disappointed even with Joe Biden running again. It's like, let's give the opportunity for new people. You can go out and support them and campaign for them as much as you want, but let's turn it over to some newer people here and get some new energy into the mix.
But with the name recognition for somebody like Bernie Sanders, Tamara, do you feel like that negates somebody that maybe people were starting to become more interested by, whether it be Kamala Harris or Cory Booker or Klobuchar, whose name I love and that sounds so presidential? I mean, do you think that people who were like, oh, I'm kind of interested in this, like, oh, wait, Bernie? And they're gonna, basically go to the flavor of the week.
No, I mean, I gotta give my party credit a little bit to
Good
be
for
like,
you.
I think people are going like we haven't gotten into any like I don't know what anybody like I have absolutely no like favorites right now just because we like nothing has really, I heard Elizabeth Warren is one of the only ones that has always said she wanted to abolish ICE. Like there's nothing that's come out like
I'm
policy.
sorry, I'm gonna have to drink my soda just room temperature.
Exactly. She wants to make it European.
Sorry.
Yes.
I'm not voting for her. Yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm not voting for her.
Bringing
I know
European
that wasn't-
socialism to
European
America.
I know that
policies.
absolutely wasn't worth interrupting you, but I did it anyway, and I'm ashamed.
I'm just saying, like, I don't know what anybody's policies really are because all that. This is what's so aggravating about our media, if I'm going to bash mainstream media at all, is that why are the news stories that we're hearing about Elizabeth Warren's, Native American claim, Kamala Harris not being black enough, what else? Like,
well, my argument is that Elizabeth Warren isn't black enough. That's my story.
That's why you're not voting for
I'm not
her.
gonna vote for her.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Everybody
and
has their
and the ICE
issues.
thing.
But I'm saying, like, why are these the things that we're hearing about
Right.
on any of these candidates
Well,
that's just so...
it's a very specific issue, but I think for Elizabeth Warren, like she has to just stop showing up at Native American events and because she's the one who keeps reminding everyone like, hey, that thing that I did,
Yeah.
I feel that it's like just
it's
stand
kind
on
of-
some issues.
It's kind of like how we were talking with any issue like that older, and she's older. How old is she? She's older.
She's almost 70 as well. Yeah.
So that generation of politicians needs to learn that they need to stop, like we were talking last week about the governor of Virginia, like who advised him, like just stop trying to walk back whatever stupid or awful thing that you've said. Like just be like, yeah, I did it. My bad. Let's move forward.
I'm sorry. Let's move forward and not keep trying to dredge out.
mean-
more
And not
excuses
even,
or-
like I don't mean to say that like her claiming Native American ancestry to a larger degree than is actually true is anywhere near the governor of Virginia being in blackface. But like it's just like any political misstep. I feel like I'm hoping that the younger generation of politicians will be better at just being like, well, like AOC, when that video went viral of her saying like the 3 branches, like misspeaking about
Yeah.
like the 3 chambers of government is what she called them or whatever. And she was just like, I misspoke.
Right, and I mean,
My bad.
we live in an age where people clearly can move on. I mean, we have a president who we all heard him say, you got to grab her by the pussy, and he still became president. So clearly, people can move on past a lot of things.
Absolutely move on as long as you like exactly the exact same thing. Just effing own it
Yeah.
and just move forward. Yeah, I did it.
Yeah, and that's what we
Come
were
at
talking
me.
about last week with Dr. Metzler was like, the apology for like, oh, those blackface photos. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It was just like, no, you completely mishandled it. I think that they're going to wait for it to go away as well. But yeah, I think people are willing to kind of I don't know, look past these things. And somebody like Elizabeth Warren, it's like, yeah, that's what people who don't, who just read the headlines, they see what pops up on, I don't know, Google News or whatever, and they're like, oh yeah, that's what I know about her. Well, you don't know anything else about her. I think the majority of people don't know that she wants to get rid of ICE, that sort of thing. And I think it's important to know what the issues are before, you can figure out who you want to vote for. And of course, there'll be those stages with 16 to 20 Democrats all vying for the same thing. I don't know about you, Scott. I'm just hoping John Huntsman gets back in. I mean, that was just crushing last year, or not last year, but
I don't even know who that is.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, he was actually
he was a senator or
a former governor of Utah.
See,
and
I still vote for him.
Was a Republican, but was ambassador to China for Barack Obama, for the Obama administration. But I think like what you're saying, Tamara, it's so early in the game, and Democrats are going to be happy to go shopping right now, so to speak, and kind of take the time to figure out who's the best candidate. And I think that Democrats in general are going to be smarter this time around. Hopefully, they've learned the lessons from 2016 and the complacency, especially after a two-term president of their party, where it was a little bit easier to sit on their laurels and not be as motivated to go out and vote and really be educated about the candidate and the issues. And I think this time around that Democrats are not going to put any of that to chance, and are going to make sure that for their own party and for the future of the country, that they're going to make sure that they're going to pick the best candidate that they think has the best ideals, but even if they don't agree with them 100%, has the best chance of being able to win over the most people to unseat Trump. And so I do think people are going to be a little bit better about that this time around, and hopefully not be as divided. But it is hard when you have someone like Bernie Sanders, who is such a divided type candidate in the sense that a lot of Democrats don't feel he fits into that purity test. So we'll have to see how it goes in the next several months. But at this point, the more the merrier. It's the chance for everyone to really get the best ideas, hopefully, from these 15, 20 plus candidates, and being able to take the best from everybody and what's going to work, and win it down to the best candidate, whoever that might be at this point.
We have time for two more thoughts. One's a very quick one. President Trump was a Twitter, pun intended, about the Washington Post fact checkers skewering, quote, your all-time favorite president after takedown of rambling border speech.
Zachary Taylor?
I was going to say James Polk, but
I know, right?
we all
Polk
have our
is great.
favorites. And that, it's your all-time favorite president. I don't know. I don't know exactly who he's talking to, because I'm sure it's not Melania. So I don't even know who he's talking to. I don't know who anybody said. But anyway, the real final thought, though, is Ruth Bader Ginsburg back at the Supreme Court for her first public hearing since cancer surgery before Christmas. I guess she was able to work from home, as it were. She was able to, still participate, but she's back at work. How do you summarize that feeling, Tamara? I don't want to put any words in anybody's mouth, but to hear that she's back at work, I believe she's 85. Yeah. So, Bernie can point to that. He's like, hey, I'm not Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Yeah.
I'm a baby next to Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I mean.
Yeah. So to hear she's back at work, what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, let's throw some hard meat at the wall. Let's get Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Let's get her hands dirty. She's up for it.
She needs somebody to get her in shape, maybe.
No, she's in shape. I think I'm saying she's ready to wrestle. She's ready to.
So she just needs a hype man in her corner, or a hype person. Pardon me. Okay, Scott, your thoughts when you heard that story?
Relief, but as I said before, I want to kind of put her in bubble wrap and make sure she's got 24-hour security, and she's never alone.
That's a great question. Do Supreme Court justices get like a Secret Service detail? I'm not putting either of you on the spot, but because if they don't, you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Those are like, 12 of the most important people in the world. You could say together more important than one president, but you would hope that somebody's keeping them safe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I want to put her an extra.
I think she's her own worst enemy. Like in the documentary, like she sleeps less than 4 hours a night. Like she's that much and then sleeps all weekend. She's just very much a workhorse. Like just take it easy. Do some little self-care, RBG.
Yeah. You know, take a nap. Take executive time. It's all the kids are doing it now.
Exactly.
RBG, take some executive time. Well, let us know what you think in the chat if you're watching the archive version, and we'll get to it next week. And you can always follow the Trump Report on Twitter at Trump Report ABTV, and you can follow me at Christian DMZ. Tamara, where do people find you?
Follow me on Twitter at HeyTamara_.
And Scott, where do people find you?
You can follow me on Twitter at SMan80.
Any good fights with Mitch McConnell or anybody this week, or have you been busy?
Not this week. I mean, Mitch McConnell's taking the week off.
And so you're taking the week off. All right,
you know.
great. Well, look forward to next week. All right, and speaking of next week, we will see you then at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, right here. Until then, have a good one.
Mwah.
Bye.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.